Ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprong, and co-host SFL CEO Zach Stanley and Nick Stablenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on 105.5, the team in Rochester. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined, as always, by the man who owns his own universe, Matthew Footer.
It's good to be back. Somehow I wiggled my way in the seat again, in a different seat.
Well, different chair, yeah.
But, on the air again. So.
The reason you're here in a different chair is because making his triumphant return to the Star Fantasy League Show is SFL CEO Zach Stanley.
It's so great to be back.
Oh, you're actually here. Oh, I was just saying
I'm
that.
I'm right here right now.
You did it.
I actually prefer that chair.
You want to switch?
I do. Yeah, we'll switch at the break.
Okay.
I think we've been through this before.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's a comfortable chair.
You're allowed to have whatever chair you want. You do run this company.
That's true.
You get
I
whatever.
bought the chair.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. So. No, it's awesome to be back on. I missed you guys.
Oh, that's so adorable.
A lot.
You missed me, but Footer in it.
Well,
He was hired and fired 6 times before you got back. It happens.
he's all right.
Yeah, that's right. So where have you been? Have you been just like engulfed in basketball the entire since the season started? You haven't been on.
I'm
I
not
feel like that's what it
I'm
is.
not gonna brag,
Yeah, you are.
but I'm gonna brag a little bit.
Okay.
I have done very well for myself since the beginning of the season on a site which will not be named.
A site with initials, right? We're not gonna even mention
Yes.
it. Yeah, we're not gonna do that.
It's kind of like Donkey Kong.
Oh, Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that's yeah, they got sued. You can't say
Or some sort of New York City clothing company.
that. Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
DKNY.
Oh,
I got
okay,
that one.
I got it. Sorry,
right.
Twitter was all over that.
I'm not all into my New York City fashion.
But now this has been a dominant start to my NBA daily fantasy season. And I can only credit myself, really.
Oh, okay. I was saying today on the Star Fantasy League Show, this is the first time we're actually going to be talking very briefly. There's only 2 games tonight. We're going to be talking briefly about general strategies and ideas, especially on a short slate, how to make your best team on StarFantasy.com for basketball. So if you don't like basketball, tune out right now.
I have a lot of things to say.
I'm sure you do. We're going to get to it in a little bit, but it is Thursday, which means the NBA knows what they're doing. They put out a 2-game slate because it's football night. There's Thursday night football, but go ahead, Zach. This is your favorite time to say, what's the game tonight? You love to say this every week. It's really,
I
gets
do?
me. It's a divisional matchup this week.
Well, the thing that's cool that they're doing now with Thursday Night Football is they're actually pairing division opponents. against each other.
Oh, are they?
Really?
Yeah, it's
Wow,
pretty sweet.
I didn't know that. If you didn't tell me every single Thursday afternoon. This.
But you know what? There is a little something extra going on with tonight's game, besides the fact that I have Jeremy Hill in a lot of lineups.
Oh.
And I have Terrence West in a couple lineups,
Ooh.
which is interesting.
That actually really helps because I noticed going into this game, there's a 30 in front of the run defenses of both teams. 30 and 31st.
Could be a
in the
big
league.
game on the ground. I'm considering taking Cincinnati as my survivor pick.
Ooh.
I know.
That's dangerous.
Well, of course it is. It's divisional, but they're with the teams that I have left available to choose. The only other really tempting one to me is the Ravens against Tennessee.
I like that matchup better.
Yeah, me too.
Here's the thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Going
Mettenberger on the road?
into this
Cleveland?
game.
Barely beat the Bucks.
Here's
Lost
the
to
thing.
the Jaguars.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to say this right now. Cincinnati didn't look great against Jacksonville. Wasn't really ever dominating in that game. Barely beat Baltimore and got killed by Indy and tied Carolina in their past 4 games. They haven't looked impressive. Cleveland's looked even less impressive in the season.
Yeah.
They had the easiest 3-game stretch of the season, including a 1-win team, a 0-win team, and the third team was crappy too.
Another 1-win team.
Yeah, well, it was
Tampa Bay.
It was Oakland, Tampa Bay, and who was the third one?
Jacksonville.
Oh, and
Okay, so
Jesus.
2 0 teams and then a 1-win team. So
No, 2 1-win teams, a 0-win team. Tampa Bay has a win. Jacksonville's a win too, don't they?
against Cleveland.
Oh yeah, they beat them.
The
That's
thing
embarrassing.
for me is that what could happen here in this game is if Cleveland wins is that they will be ahead of Cincinnati in the division, and that just doesn't sound possible to me.
If
Tennessee's 2-6, their season is done. That's when weird things happen.
Yeah, Zach Mettenberger
Weird things.
lighting the world on
I
fire.
can see, especially with that that Baltimore showing against Pittsburgh, I can see something funky happening.
I don't know.
I'm
Tennessee's
sticking to Cincinnati.
Tennessee's a really bad team. I'll say that. They're
So is Cleveland.
okay.
Cleveland. I don't even know how they have this record. This is much different than the Bills
I
situation.
just told you they played 3 of the worst teams in the NFL, and they lost to one of them somehow.
Yeah.
They
How's
got
that-
crushed by the Jaguars.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They lost to the worst team,
So-
second worst team in the NFL.
Why would I not take Cincinnati at home?
All right. So, do you really think there's any legs to this thing that Jeremy Hill's going to start getting some of the carries when Gio comes back? That's stupidity, right? What are you taking all these carries away from Gio? You just gave them to him this season.
The guy can really pound the ball.
Yeah?
That's the big difference is that he has that aspect of his game that is the only thing that is missing in Gio's game. So I really would. I would give him the goal line carries. I'd have him on third downs all the time. I really would.
Yeah.
He really impressed me last week. And I don't think we're going to see any sort of lack tonight in what he's able to do. I think he's going to have another strong showing.
Yeah, I mean, John already alluded to it. There's two of the worst run defenses in the league. So I expect Hill to just continue what he's doing. And, they finally have a healthy AJ Green back. Sanu, one of those guys is going to be covered by Joe Hayden. The other one's going to be probably open. But Dalton hasn't really impressed me much this year. He's turned the ball over a lot.
And it's not even the playoffs yet.
Yeah.
He waits until the playoffs to be unimpressive.
If
but-
they're smart, they run the ball.
Let's also remind ourselves that AJ Green was out for a few weeks.
True.
Was barely involved in the offense last week and should have a much better game this week.
Oh, I agree.
he
with
played-
that.
Which is enormous for them
He
to
played-
stretch the field.
He played a little less than 2/3 of the snaps last week. He should play a lot more than that this week. That's why when we talk about it later in the show, when we get to the actual second half breakdown of the games, yes, I'm very much interested in AJ Green.
You know what? This also could be another bad rationale for me, but to be able to get my survivor out of the way and win on Thursday and then just soak in Sunday and hope for losses.
You
Good
just
idea.
jinxed the crap out of yourself. You do realize that, right?
I'm not worried.
You just got all preachy, and then you're definitely going to bite
I
you.
feel
in the
good
ass.
about it.
It's biting you in the ass, guarantee it.
Also, we always talk about how the scoring usually is weird in these Thursday
It's either a
night games.
blowout or it's really, really low scoring, and that's the only way it's going.
I see this game going to be a blowout one way or the other.
One way or the other.
Most likely Cincinnati.
Cleveland 42-0. You heard it here on the Star
26-3 Bengals.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. All right, let's move on real quickly. Before we get to the NBA, we have to talk about Adrian Peterson back in the news yet again. I wanted to stop talking about him. I said we were done a couple days ago, but apparently his bid for reinstatement was immediately denied. So they didn't give any further comment. It's not even posted on the major news sites. I just saw it on Fox Sports, but so who knows if that's even true. What the hell is the NFL doing?
I saw in Roto-World that they denied him.
Okay, so you saw. Okay, so it is starting to move around.
Yeah, in my opinion, this is something that the NFL probably felt like they needed to do initially and go back and analyze the whole thing and figure out the approach they should take.
Analyze what? They've had 7 weeks. He's been off the field since week 3.
I'm just saying for them to get the plea deal done and then immediately reinstate him. I don't see that happening for the reason that they'd like to make the procedure a little bit longer than that and make it seem like they're taking care of business and making sure that they're making the right decision.
So you're saying not Roger Goodell's typical way of deciding things.
Right.
Going, I heard some news, 4 games. No, I'm just kidding, 6 games.
It's a guys.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on. Is he even involved? Is Goodell even involved in this? Do you think he's ever been, contacted by the Players Association?
Well, he was just busy doing 2 hours plus of testimony for Ray Rice.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I want to see that footage.
I mean, they screwed up once with the Ray Rice situation, so
twice, 3 times,
Well,
4 times.
That being said,
as a whole.
I think they should be very swift with this. Go back, talk about it, and let him play. I mean, this is one of the longest suspensions in NFL history, and for all that he did and however you want to criticize him and everything that went on, he has a significant amount of time served.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
that
that's
should,
what I'm
and that
saying.
should count towards what would be counted against him in the ruling, and he should be able to be back on the field.
Yeah, it wasn't even technically a suspension either. So
Right.
that's the crazy part. I mean, you see what's happening with the other case that's going on right now with Greg Hardy. That's not moving as swiftly. He's not going to be playing at all the rest of the season.
that's not
for
that case isn't going to be
Carolina.
settled to 2015. So, oops, you're not getting back on the field.
Yeah, so this is a prime example where they can take something that got flipped on its head and they can make a positive out of it. I think.
I don't think we're going to see anything from this guy ever again in terms of bad character maneuvers. I really don't.
Oh, Adrian Peterson?
Yeah, I think
we hadn't heard anything before this.
No, we hadn't. I think this is it. I don't think, regardless of how he feels, he should be able to discipline his children. I don't think he's ever going to again, just because he doesn't want to put himself in any sort of bad situation. I don't think he ever did.
I'm really glad Nick's not on the show right now. He'd just be like, "It's Adrian Peterson. You already heard what I said. Move on." He does it every time we bring him up. It's really funny. All right, we are moving on though. NBA. Zach, just go. I'm gonna give you a little time to talk NBA. We only have 2 games on the slate tonight. San Antonio, Houston, great game. Dallas, Portland, not as good of a game. But.
Nick also thought Geno Smith was going to be good, by the way. So that's,
he went on a rant.
Still thinks he's going to be good.
He went on a rant about how the Bills would actually do well with Geno Smith. That was a real thing. Yes, that was a conversation we managed to have. It's
completely ridiculous.
I agree.
These games tonight, the first game is a fantastic game. I like the way that Dallas has been playing all along, but talking about the first game initially, Kawhi Leonard is back. I think he got 29 minutes last night, maybe 26. Finally working his way back into the rotation. That's going to be really big for them. I've been really impressed with Houston. I think that they have a little bit of a mix of offense and defense at this point. Dwight Howard has looked healthier than he looked
he's ready to go.
Any point last year. He looks great. James Harden is playing about as well as he ever has. Patrick Beverley had a little injury early on, but defensively he's fantastic. And Trevor Ariza, I mean, I was very speculative about this addition, losing Chandler Parsons, the fact that Chandler Parsons was kind of the offensive weapon that they had when James Harden went to the bench. But and so therefore they weren't going to have that guy that can fill in like that. But now they're kind of using a rotation with Harden and Howard to accomplish that.
Yep.
And meanwhile, the perfect drive and kick James Harden play that we've seen all along, Trevor Ariza is just making it rain.
What are your thoughts on guys like Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green going into tonight with Bellinelli, Duncan, and Ginobili all out or been ruled out for the game? So,
have they really been ruled out already?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, they. I saw they're getting both the guys. They're all getting arrested.
Oh, good.
Oh,
the typical.
no.
Hold on, Footer.
Breaking news.
Hold on, Footer. You weren't on the show last year. Zach, remind him what this is called in fantasy.
You got popped.
You just got popped. He literally will do this like 45 minutes before game time. Go, you, and you out of here.
Gone. So, but Parker's playing.
Mm-hmm. Parker is what we
Did
call.
I just do something well in basketball?
Yeah, accidentally you checked some information.
I don't know. How come I'm not actually? Oh, he's right.
He is right. All right, come after the break. We're actually going to give credit where credit is due to Matthew Footer. Now we're not going to do that. We are going to talk more fantasy basketball, and it's time for Jonald's Mailbag. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show on 105.5 The Team.
The Star Fantasy League Show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Okay, fantasy sports fans.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Time to dig into Jonald's mailbag for your questions and comments.
Read the mail, read the mail, read the mail.
Jump in the game. Send your questions and comments to the Star Fantasy League's team by tweeting at SFL Show.
We are back, and it's not yet time for Jonald's Mailbag because we are still talking fantasy NBA. Only 2 games on the slate, and Zach was so flabbergasted by the fact that he just got news that we got popped. Half of the San Antonio Spurs starting lineup is out. Zach, that is the number one thing about fantasy NBA, right? Is checking starting lineups, checking who's out, literally until the second the games start.
Yeah, up to the minute. If you are in the type of situation where you're making a lineup and you've got it all set up, you haven't heard any big news that is detrimental to it, except for maybe one player. One player is questionable, but you want him in there if he's going to play. You're going to have to go, not only are you going to have to go up to the minute checking on everything that's going on about that player and everybody else in your lineups, but you should also have an alternate lineup ready because you don't want to put yourself in a situation where with 4 minutes to go before game start, you're scrambling.
Well, yeah, that's where the case where you see like a James Harden at 19,000 and you go, oh, well, I like everybody else. But what if you're playing a guy that's 10,000, he's out, then you have to go searching for value at the last second or completely rearrange your lineup.
You got to have contingency plans. You must.
That's definitely That's one of the parts. It's one of the craziest games because baseball, you get lineups out 3 hours beforehand. Football, at least they're pretty nice to you when it comes to that. In football, hey, guys, at least warming up and doing all this other stuff.
You get 90 minutes before they put the inactives out for game time.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Well, but still, inactive and game time, they could still be active but not playing. There's weird things like that.
And often late scratches end up being what makes your lineup as well, but it can break it just as easily.
That is very true. All right, what about on a 2-game slate like this? I ended up putting a lineup. I put one together. I can get a lot of these big names in, but in order to do it, you got to get some value plays. These are guys that are going to exceed value but are super cheap. Who do you have on the list tonight for those?
I have to say that given the news that we just received,
that San Antonio does not play tonight?
Yeah, that all of these guys aren't going to be playing. Boris Diaw looks like a great option. He's going to be pretty much controlling the paint offensively. They don't have any other guys that can really operate down low with Splitter and Duncan both out.
What a great – I mean – can you believe that, 3 or 4 years ago we'd be talking about Boris Diaw in any kind of fantasy or even basketball light based on when he was like 350 pounds?
Yeah, when he was on the Bobcats?
Yeah, he was literally 350 pounds.
The team formerly known as the Bobcats.
They go by the symbol now.
The Bob Hornets or whatever the hell they're calling them now. The Bobinets? I have no idea.
That's one of his favorite jokes.
No, I don't know what I normally call them.
You don't know what their name is?
The Charlotte Jordans?
Sure, that actually would be a great name if Nike could secure the naming rights to that team.
Just a guy flying through the air. That's our logo.
This is also the type of situation where you'll see a guy like Danny Green step up. This is really,
or you hope he will.
This is tailored for him because their bench is so short, and he's the type of guy that even though he doesn't get the big minutes when everybody is in, Popovich will trust him when it comes to this type of scenario. And Kawhi Leonard, I mean. You got to think that with him now getting a couple games back, he's ready to go. He's going to get some significant run tonight, and he could have a massive impact. And he's got a pretty good salary.
That is true. What about guys in this Dallas-Portland game? Anybody for value? I'm noticing Robin Lopez at 11,500 has been killing it this season. He's just been destroying people.
I mean, given our scenario on here, we're going to have to use 2 centers, right?
No, we switched it up. This season, we're moving a little differently. We got 1 center spot, 1 utility, 3 guards, and 3 forwards. I have to change up my whole spiel now.
Yeah, no, I'm putting Dwight Howard at center.
Okay, I have Dwight Howard and Robin Lopez in my lineup.
Well, I think there are other guys that I could put around that might do better than Robin Lopez. That is a difficult matchup with Tyson Chandler for both players.
That's true. I still think Tyson Chandler's another year older. I still don't think he's a top
defender?
Top 3 defender.
He's a great
anymore.
defender.
Okay, he's a great defender. He's not the best.
So Robin Lopez isn't the best offensive center.
That is correct.
So there are other places that I can look, but now with this new news out, James Harden is an absolute must tonight.
Yep,
you
100%.
have to have him in your lineup. If you were looking at Duncan and Parker and Aldridge and Howard before, that would have been fine if you didn't have Harden in my opinion, going up against San Antonio. Him possibly having to get defended by Danny Green or Kawhi, but now he's a must.
What are your thoughts on Dallas? Their big 3 guys, Dirk, Ellis, and Parsons. They're all listed between 13,200 and 13,900. I mean, the 3 guys together are averaging about 80 fantasy points. Would you roll all 3 of those guys tonight against Portland?
Parsons makes me nervous, to be honest.
Really?
Well, he's going to be going up against Batum, who is one of the best small forward defenders in the league. And then as far as Dirk and Monte go, I like both of those prices. I think both of those prices are really good. Parsons has had a couple good games, but for some reason he hasn't been able to put it together in the second half. I'm not really sure what that's been about. But Dirk, you're always worried about the minutes. He could end up with 31 minutes and still have a close game and have it just be that way. In this type of situation against Portland, going in there, it's going to be a pretty ramped up game. It's a Thursday night game, marquee matchup. Could see him getting a couple extra minutes, maybe getting to like 34 or 35.
He likes to play against these good young power forwards too, like LaMarcus Aldridge. That's something that he gets up for.
Yeah, no, he could have a great game, and so should Monte, who has had a couple struggles in the past 2. His value has dropped a little bit. This is the perfect time to scoop him up.
Sounds perfect. All right, should we get on to the bread and butter? Is it time? So you haven't had Jonathan's mailbag.
Isn't that
in a while.
NBA?
No, okay. We're gonna start actually integrating NBA more as the season goes on, obviously. But there's so much football to talk about, so much news, breaking down mid-season stuff. So starting next week, tomorrow's the Weekend Fantasy Focus. Starting on Monday, we'll have actual game-by-game breakdowns instead of these 2 games. Thanks a lot, Thursday basketball. I can't blame David Stern for this
Thursday
anymore.
basketball stays that way the whole season anyways.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I hate it.
There's like a maximum of 4 games.
Yeah,
any
it's 3
Thursday.
or 4. I don't like it at all.
And NFL
Or
on
2.
Thursday night is
Or
always
2.
a divisional matchup too.
Thank you for that footer, you jerk. All right, let's get into Jonathan's
big.
Just
mailbag.
want to make sure.
It's a pretty big deal.
Great. Mark L writes, the Cleveland LeBrons have started out 1-2, including a blowout loss to the Blazers last night, or it was 2 nights ago. At what point should the Cavs fans be panicking about their new big 3? I hate these questions. I hate when you played 3 games together. These players have literally never played together outside of LeBron and Kevin Love's 7 games in the Olympics? That was it?
How about never? They should not. There's no point at which they're going to need to be panicking. They shouldn't be panicking now. Yeah. I'm not worried about it at all.
Yeah, you were at the first game. They looked.
They just
LeBron looked bad.
They have a new coach who hasn't coached in the NBA before.
Yep.
Which I think was a mistake. But
They hired him before.
I know.
LeBron news
Right.
or Kevin. It's kind of a lot.
We'll see how it
lumped
plays
on.
out. He could end up being great. I just to expect all of this to sync up together immediately right out of the gate is ridiculous. It's just not going to happen. The one concern that I have is the dynamic between LeBron and Kyrie Irving. Mm-hmm. Because Kyrie Irving didn't have an assist last night.
Yeah,
he shot the ball either 22 or 23 times. I think 23 times. And he didn't have an assist.
If LeBron is doing his whole mentoring the young kids thing, I'm going to expect next game Kyrie Irving to have 12 shots and 11 assists. Right? Because he's going to need to take him aside and go, you know what? It's great that you're taking initiative, great you're scoring, but you have 2 of the best 5 or 7 players in the NBA on your team. You need to stop shooting the ball.
LeBron didn't have a shot in the second half last night, correct?
I don't know.
I thought I read that earlier that he didn't even have a shot in the second half. I mean, that was reference to the Portland game the other night. Obviously, they lost to Utah last night, who's even a lesser of a team. So
a lesser of a team. They're bottom 4.
Yeah,
they're really bad.
The same thing happened with the Miami Heat when they first got their big 3 together. It took them about a half a season to 3/4 of a season to actually gel as a team. And don't forget, they actually did make the NBA Finals that year as well.
These are the things that people that panic way too early do not understand. You need to take a full look. You don't have enough time together. Just because they played together a couple games in wherever it was, Beijing that Kevin Love and LeBron played together, big deal. That doesn't mean they played. That
was
real,
2 years ago too.
Yeah, that's not
or
real. That's not
whatever,
real world basketball. That is basically exhibition. A bunch of stars playing alley oop to each other. That's what it is at this point. It's a joke.
LeBron needs to be utilizing the post more.
Okay, yeah. Why?
This is something that I've always thought about his game. He talked about it a couple years ago and a little more last year that he was making progress in his game, making changes to improve his play in the post. I think he was working with Olajuwon at one point or somebody.
Yeah. No, that was Dwight Howard that was working with Olajuwon.
Well, I know Dwight Howard did. A lot of players have worked with Olajuwon.
Of course they have. He's got one of the best set of post moves of all time.
But this was always something that I feel is a critical part of his game for his team to be successful is that, obviously we know how he can drive to the rack. We know how athletically talented he is, but he is also extremely strong. He got thinner this year, which, I don't know about all that. He was never He was never slow. He was extremely fast and explosive. So why would he end up getting thinner? Everybody thought this was a great idea. I don't really understand it. He's so good at controlling his body with his strength. I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me. But in this situation in Cleveland, with what they've got going on, they've been utilizing Dion Waiters a lot. I don't think he got subbed out of the starting lineup last night. I think he had some sort of issue going on.
No. David Blatt said he started Sean Marion and then immediately.
Oh no, it was because Dellavedova was out.
Oh, there you go.
So they needed Waiters to come in off the bench and run the second.
Yeah,
game.
he said that's a mistake. He literally came out after the game and said, "Nope, not doing that again." So
to
learning on the job.
have LeBron in the post working to penetrate and back people down and have shooters like Dion Waiters and Kyrie to kick out to, I think that's great for their offense. And Kevin Love, same thing. He can bounce in and out and hit the outside shot, as we all know. I think that's the setup they should be utilizing.
I mean, Kevin Love is one of the perfect players to play with a slashing guy like Kyrie Irving. Guess what? Like you said with Ariza earlier, Harden kicks to Ariza. Kevin Love is that perfect guy. And guess what? If he misses, he's probably getting the offensive rebound. That's how good he is.
I would just like to see Kyrie more involved in running the offense. I don't understand where that is. I mean, it's unacceptable to call this guy a point guard. He puts up 23 shots and doesn't get an assist. But Crazy.
So that's Russell Westbrook point guarding. Although he's actually improved.
He still
his
gets a
numbers.
ton of assists.
Well, yeah, because he's got the best shooter in the league on his team.
Yeah.
That kind
Oh,
of.
it's-
LeBron's not the best pure shooter in the league. Let's be
No, but
honest
he
there.
does have LeBron and Kevin Love to pass to.
Yeah. I mean, is there any reason that those two shouldn't have over like 55% field goal when they are literally shooting?
No,
It's
Kyrie
insane.
Kyrie is now in the perfect spot to be a point guard and be a distributor. Yeah, he'll get his points when he needs to as part of the new big three there. But
Can we
Kevin
stop
Love,
saying that, by the way? Stop saying big three. I'm tired of it. I'm so tired.
they are a big three.
Because every team, we're building a big three. We're building a big three. We have a big three too. It's like, stop it. We don't care.
Well, Miami had one, and now it's just LeBron's new big
San
three
Antonio.
in Cleveland.
San Antonio's had the one that's won 4
San
championships.
Antonio has a big four now.
Okay, stop.
Didn't we have that big four conversation? You brought that up.
No comment.
You did.
No comment. I said big four. Look at it. We can talk about big four now. Great.
And then you wanted to talk about whether Kawhi was like the big one or some nonsense.
No, I said if he's overshadowing, if he's going to overshadow the rest of
number
them.
one.
That's what I said in previewing.
Impossible.
Oh, stop it. He's
Not
the
when you
future.
got T-Dunks on the team, babe.
Excuse, are you really trying to turn Tim Duncan's name into T-Dunks? Is this a real thing?
T-Dunks, Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day, same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
That is true. You're always going to get the same production from Tim Duncan.
Bread and butter, big fundamental.
And he's looked exactly the same way for 20 years. How is that possible?
He's awesome.
All right, coming out of the break, we're
Legend.
talking more John Elt's mailbag, and we're also breaking down the second half NFL Week 10. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League show with Jonathan, Zach, and Nick. Only on the Team.
Yet another day and yet another wrong intro. It's back on the Star Fantasy League show with Jonathan, Zach, and Footer.
I feel my NBA knowledge is starting to grow each day that Zach and yourself begin to talk about it. So I appreciate it, actually.
Hey,
And I'm sure
Lou Williams got 12 points the other day. You excited?
I am. He's my boy.
Yeah, he is your boy. It's
Sweet
it's
Lou.
very strange to me.
Yeah, that 15-minute average is pretty dominant.
Well, he got 22 the other night. 22 minutes, and I looked at it and I go,
gonna keep
I'm
growing.
like, that's not going to happen ever again.
All right, so I made one wrong prediction.
No, not only a wrong prediction, you think Lou Williams is still an NBA player.
I mean, at least I don't think Geno Smith's still a starting quarterback.
Wow, there we go. Shots fired. Nick's not going to like the recording.
Hey, if either DeRozan or Lowry run into an injury, he'll get some extra minutes.
And Toronto is instantly not a playoff team anymore.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah, that's
well,
true.
I mean, if it's
I never
long-
said
if
they
it's
were going to be
long-term.
a playoff team with him.
Oh,
and
okay, with
having
him starting,
an
yeah.
impact.
They'd be in the playoffs if Lowry was there, I think.
Hey, they'd be like a 6 or a 7 seed.
Yeah.
The East is good this year. The East has improved. Definitely improved. I like them.
Pacers.
Okay, yes. The Pacers don't count. They have half a team. All right, let's move. Even the bottom teams
Paul George
are,
has half
they're
a leg,
frisky.
so-
The bottom teams
They're
are
a
a little
little
bit
frisky, yeah.
Like Milwaukee, they got some life in them.
Minnesota?
Little bit of life in them. Compared to last year, they won
that's-
15
yeah,
games.
Well, Brandon Knight
Minnes-
looks awesome.
Yeah, he does. They
Minnesota
won that
gives
trade.
Chicago a little bit of trouble over the weekend, too.
Yeah, actually, Minnesota. They're not in the East, though. Good effort.
Oh, yeah.
They look like a better team with Jason Kidd.
Yeah. Was he playing?
Well,
That'd be great if he just suited up one day. He's like, you know what? We need some point guard help.
he's dishing out his point guard tutelage.
Yeah, it's Ricky. Ricky needs it. All right, I got one more question before we move on to Week 10, the second half of games for Fantasy Breakdown. Comes from Ron H. Monty Ball said that Ronnie Hillman definitely should, that's a quote, remain the starter. Is this just more proof that Ball isn't the right fit in Denver? How could you actually say this if you're supposed to be a starting running back in the NFL, that another guy should definitely be starting? Are you kidding me?
It's an interesting quote, to say the least.
Interesting?
Yeah,
He's an idiot.
That was putting it nicely.
No,
right?
we're not allowed. You don't have to put it nicely on this show. I don't live in Denver.
I
I'm
mean-
not part of the Denver local media. I don't care.
We've seen some weird things with running backs this year. I mean, Andre Ellington basically told Stephon Taylor earlier this season to go in and hawk his touchdowns.
He was probably also tired. Let's be honest.
yeah,
there.
that's true.
Or he had Stephon Taylor on his fantasy team. He's just being
That's true.
a little deceitful there.
I mean, I don't see Ball getting the starting job back if Hillman's healthy. Going into this weekend, they have a really good matchup against Oakland where
Yum.
they're just going to run all over them. So I can see Ball getting some work this weekend. But moving forward, Hillman's just played too well against a lot of pretty good defenses for him to
Hillman-
not be the starter.
Hillman's almost 4.5 yards per carry as opposed to Ball's at 3. 3. That's not good.
No, that's not. I mean, coming into the season, Ball was going late first round, early second round.
Yeah,
and
I avoided him like the plague.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, everyone figured in a Peyton Manning offense, he's just going to, excel, and they thought the same thing last year, and Nosha Moreno ended up taking the job from him. So
I don't
This
know.
is how I feel about this quote. Correct. This is absolutely right. He doesn't deserve to be starting. He knows that. Maybe it's good that he's coming. I mean, he's still very young. He's still got a lot of room in this league. Supposedly, he's lost.
Yeah, he said
He's
12
lost a few
pounds.
pounds to get back to where he needs to be a little bit quicker and have his burst back, which I think is good. And I think he'll take on that same role that he had behind Noshawn.
Yeah,
but to come out and say, I think this is a good team player comment. I don't have a problem with it. To say he is playing awesome. We've all seen it. He is the guy. He needs to be right now the way he's playing.
I mean, if he speaks out, it's not going to bode well for team chemistry. And
Yeah, but he doesn't have to say anything. That's the
But-
point. He can
but
say,
what
"Oh,
better-
I'm looking forward to getting back into the mix when I'm healthy." That's
True.
all he had to say. He had to say, "Yeah, this guy's much better than me." Okay,
Well, he didn't say that either.
That's basically
No,
what he
he
said.
did not.
Come on.
He said right now he deserves the job, which is true.
he's not going to probably find a better situation than this either out there, even if it is a running back by committee. So he realizes he's on one of the best teams, so he might as well just shut up and
Until this past week against the Patriots, what Ronnie Hillman has been able to do has given this team an entirely new dimension.
This is true. Just much like Noshawn Moreno did last season.
Yep.
They made him, and then look, go get your money somewhere else. Hooray!
I'm
what's happening.
really sad about Noshawn.
What,
I think
being out?
I think he would have had a good season if he hadn't gotten injured.
Yeah, I mean,
But he's
And
had
that
a
team
history. He's had a history of injuries.
And that team's looked pretty good recently. We
on the
talked
back
about
of
them.
Lamar Miller.
Ugh, I don't want to hear that.
Lamar.
Stop it with this Lamar
They
thing.
had a third-round pick in fantasy drafts like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Ugh, Lamar Miller. Again, another stay away. All right, we got to move on to Week 10, the second half of games. These are the 4 o'clock games and later. We're going to start with tonight's game. We already broke the game down from an actual standpoint. Let's break it down from a fantasy standpoint. We mentioned these two teams have the 30th and 31st rushing defenses in the league. We're definitely, if you're playing in a Thursday night contest on StartFantasy.com, you have to get in one or both of West and Hill, right?
Yes, I think Hill, with the salary that he's still at, despite last week's performance, is a must play.
He's around like 13, isn't he?
I think
12,
he's
13?
still a must play.
I honestly, I would be, if you're playing on Thursday, I know a lot of people like to stack one of these teams to be fully invested in this game because you're watching this game. This is not going to be a good game. You got to have something to
I mean,
enjoy.
Hill's coming in at 10,225.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
And West is around 7,700. Tate's a little bit ahead of him. Crowell's a little bit behind him. But we've obviously seen that it's a running back by committee. And
Stop saying that thing. I hate that. Makes fantasy owners just like shrivel up. RBBC.
I mean, it really is. But they came out and said West is going to be the guy moving forward. So I liked West coming in this season. I drafted him on a lot of my teams because I thought he was going to get the fair shake.
Well, because Ben Tate has, he's like a Mr. Potato Head. You just take off his limbs and he doesn't
Yeah.
really need them anymore.
It was
Pretty
a
much.
15-10 split with Tate last week. But, they need to move on to this guy because Tate isn't a long-term solution. Not that they're not in the race, because they are. And if Tate,
Yeah, they
if
are.
Tate was the guy to go with right now, then that would be that. But they've shown a fairly decent overall running game so far this season, but Ben Tate hasn't done anything that has been that impressive.
Yeah, I mean, Crowell's the guy who's got the raw ability. He might be the future possibly there, but Tate just doesn't have it. So I think West is a good option. So
Yeah, I
Well, if they got West, why did they get Crowell?
I don't know.
And
Well,
if-
Crowell's a
exactly.
rookie,
I
right?
don't know.
Well, West is a rookie.
Yeah, Terrence West is the rookie.
Isn't Crowell a rookie as well?
Yeah, they are.
both
Zerko
rookies.
was like a 7th rounder or something, wasn't he? He
Yeah.
was a super deep rookie.
Yeah, but West was what?
Yeah, 3rd or 4th
Third
round.
or fourth, yeah.
I believe so.
Well,
They're just trying to find a
interesting to me.
solution.
Yeah, I mean, if Crowell ends up being the guy, he ends up being the guy. I mean, the Bills have Chantrell Henderson playing out there, so.
All right, what else are we looking at in this game? AJ Green's had a weird boomer bust against Joe Hayden. He's had one year where he got like 3 touchdowns and 200 yards. The next year he had like 7 receptions for like 50 in 2 games. So
I think that if this game was on Sunday, AJ Green would be a pretty good contrarian pick to go against because he's always capable of producing regardless of who he's playing against. And people might avoid him because of the past injuries, but I think he'll be good to go in this one, be back at full strength. But since it's tonight, there will probably be a significant amount of people that have him in just because that's how it goes on Thursdays.
Yep, people love to pick Thursday guys if you have a Thursday game. Yeah, I would probably avoid them.
Yeah, if I join Thursday games, I usually have max of one person in from that game.
True. Yeah, it doesn't
Because
necessarily
it usually ends up helping me. Some of the players that wanted to get involved in the Thursday night game just for the sake of it end up getting bounced out of the tournament because they're putting all these guys in there, and I end up with better odds down the stretch.
And you always have that option of the later games swapping guys in and out, especially if you're gunning for a higher position. If one guy has this guy and you have him in your lineup, but you need to pass him, you can always swap him out. But if you've had someone play already, you're not able to do that.
That is true. All right, let's
Give
move
me
on.
upside or give me death.
That is
Ooh,
true. Let's
I like
let's
that.
move on to Denver, Oakland. We talked about Ronnie Hillman earlier. I think he's a no-brainer in this game, 11,900.
Yeah, this is a terrible run defense. 31st in worst rushing defense in fantasy for Oakland. So at his price, he's still under 12,000.
Yep.
It's a no-brainer.
How about the fact that the Broncos will probably be up by 4 touchdowns? Forget the run defense. They'll just be going to Hillman for the whole second half.
Well, and not only that, but what about Derek Carr slinging, like you just mentioned, they're going to be down big in that game. Derek Carr's sneakily getting up to like 15 fantasy points in these games. He's a play. I think 13,184. There's only a couple other less expensive starters this week.
Yeah, it might be a little high for Carr, but he has 11 touchdowns on the season. He's starting to play
Like
pretty
4
well.
of them in one game, though.
The only thing I'm worried about, he has 7 interceptions on the season. I think Denver's defense is a good play in this game as well.
That's kind of a difficult trigger for me to pull because they could end up getting down by so much that they just don't even care anymore.
That is true.
And even if you're saying, all right, we're going to go to the air, a lot of times that can just result in interceptions for touchdowns.
That's also true. Who do you think is a play on this Denver passing game? Because from week to week, I have no idea, and I don't want to be shelling out 15,000, 16,000 when it's either Demarius or it's Emmanuel or it's Julius. It just completely depends on the week.
Well, Julius has definitely slumped the last few weeks. He finally got a touchdown last week, but it was his only target of the game, obviously only reception as well. If you're kind of banking, he's gotten kind of the point where he's a touchdown or bust guy, unfortunately, and that's very tough to lean on for a guy.
You think it's going to stay that way?
No way.
It's only been a couple weeks.
Yeah, exactly. It's
3
been like
weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
He could have 3 touchdowns
3 weeks.
this week.
You're doing the classic fantasy football devastation move.
Correct.
I mean, I have him on
Giving
one of
up.
my team, so
Right, so you're in misery right
yeah,
now.
I am. No, I mean, I think you got to go with the hot hand. I think at Emmanuel Sanders' price at just under 15,000. I think he's been playing lights out at this point. I don't see why not.
He's finally starting to catch touchdowns in the
Yeah.
red zone. That's nice.
I can't believe how good he's been.
This is true.
I mean, he can do it all, and it seems like he is always open.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like the 4th option on that team. Or he's going into the season, he was the 4th option. That's why people basically were like, "Yeah, go ahead, Emmanuel Sanders."
Yeah, and now they can't guard him.
Yeah, this is true.
I mean,
pretty much.
Demaryius Thomas, if you want to go for that top guy, which in GPPs I love to do, one of the top 3 or 4 receivers because receivers have much higher upside than running backs. I like to find the value running backs, the guys that are subbing in and going to end up getting a lot of carries, like a Jeremy Hill.
Yeah.
But if you end up wanting to pick Demaryius Thomas, he's a guy that seems to get like 7 catches for 90 yards every week and possibly a touchdown, and then has the upside of getting 180 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's averaging just under a touchdown a game at this point. I believe he has 8. So, I mean, I think he's a good option. I think, we discussed future games, I think there's a couple other top guys this week I like a little bit better, but
Yeah,
he's
we'll
not a bad
definitely
option,
we'll get to
so.
those guys. They're coming up in later games. St. Louis, Arizona. Andre Ellington at the price, still under 15,000. The guy's a workhorse. He's going to kill this St. Louis team.
Yeah, I mean, St. Louis isn't terrible against the run. They're like middle of the pack. But Ellington is doing it all in the passing game, in the running game.
Yeah, the fact that he can get 5 or 6 catches for like 70 yards, no matter how bad his day is on the ground, if he gets a touchdown thrown in there, that makes your week right
Yeah.
there. Those receptions on StarFantasy.com, we have PPR. It's perfect combination.
I love Carson Palmer this week.
So do I.
Just under 18,000, I think he's going to have a great
Have
day.
you seen his numbers? His lowest fantasy production this season, 17. His highest, 22. That is the epitome of consistency for fantasy. You want somewhere in that upper teens to low 20s, which is going to get you the consistency to win your GPPs.
Yeah,
you need 20s, and that's what Carson Palmer's at.
St. Louis is one of the worst teams against wide receivers, so I think Fitzgerald might actually be a good player.
Yeah,
this week
Palmer
under
came back
10,000.
healthy, and it's clear that he's not going anywhere at this
Personally,
point.
Yeah.
I'm looking at John Brown. Those two have a nice little mix, and he's only at 8,200 right now. I like
Yeah,
him.
I like
him
either
a
of
lot.
them.
We're going to talk about the rest of the games for Week 10 coming up after the break, and you're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show on 105.5 The Team.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
We are back, and before the break, we were talking about some of the Week 10 contests that we like some fantasy guys to play on StarFantasyLeagues.com. We all were under the consensus that Carson Palmer is a pretty good play, although a little bit pricey this week, almost at $18,000. I still think the consistency is there for 20 fantasy points.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to pay that much, you might as well know that the consistency is going to be there. I mean, you're not going to go against a guy like Peyton Manning and say he's going to have a bad week, but like Zach alluded to, they could be so far ahead, maybe they just run the ball, and he might just not put up the points, and you're paying.
Yeah, he might only get his
4
3 touchdowns in the first half this week.
Yeah.
And then stop throwing touchdowns.
Yeah,
he does that occasionally.
Yeah, sometimes it does.
It's the worst when you get that first half and you're like, oh, please just stay a little bit close because he's already got 20 fantasy points, and then it's just nothing.
And then he ends the game with 22, and you're like, God damn it.
Happened to DeMarcus Cousins last night.
Boogie.
He was going nuts at the half.
Boogie is so good. Boogie's making the leap. I think that USA thing definitely made him really, really good. Mm-hmm. All right, we got to move on. New York Giants and Seattle. Seattle doesn't know if they're a team anymore. They're confused.
Yeah, they had a tough showing against Oakland last week at home of all places.
Yep.
So it's not a great matchup for the Giants at all after what happened to them on Monday Night Football against the Colts. We are all agreed.
What about the one guy that I love that nobody seems to be on his train yet because the price hasn't gone up on StarFantasy.com? Odell Beckham is the guy on this team right now. We keep mentioning, Seattle's kind of fallen off in the secondary. They've really fallen off. They're not a good secondary right now. I think Odell Beckham could have his typical 7, 8 catches, 100 yards.
Yeah, the other guy I like on the Giants is Donnell, actually. He's under 10,000.
My boy, Larry Donnell.
Seattle's one of the worst teams against fantasy tight ends. So that's one area they're actually really weak on. So
you're not taking the Julius Thomas approach to Donnell?
No.
Okay.
Not that one.
Well, he slumped for a different reason. Victor, they had all their weapons there, and then one went down, and now he's actually playing well again.
Their weapons. He just sucked.
He did. He went away.
On Monday Night Football a few weeks ago, he had like 7 for 90. Last week he caught a touchdown, had respectable yards as well. So I'd rather
not have respectable yards.
Yeah,
what do you have, 30 yards?
Yeah, it wasn't all that respectable.
Please.
Respectable as in he caught a couple passes.
Julius is going to break out for a big one. You just watch.
I hope.
All right, and Marshawn's obviously
25 yards.
Yeah.
And 4 catches.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah,
4 catches is nice though.
Yeah, 4 for 25.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely Marshawn.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I absolutely love Marshawn. It seems like they're in the type of situation with his contract year that they're just going to be working him to death down the stretch here.
Pretty much.
All right, we got to move on to the game with the highest over-under of the weekend and also where you should be putting most of your guys in. Green Bay and Chicago. 53.5 over-under. Pretty sure this game is going to be just insane, right?
Yeah, I mean, both teams aren't that great against the opposing quarterback. Obviously, Chicago's a lot worse than Green Bay. So I think if you play both quarterbacks, you're going to be fine. If you pick one, definitely go over
don't
Rodgers.
Play both. Stop that.
But there's talk of a blizzard.
Stop that.
Okay, no, that's actually
that's not true at all. It's a good point of the year to play this game. But no, seriously, let me give 2 numbers for you. Rodgers had 28 fantasy points against Chicago in Chicago. Jordy Nelson, 32.8 against Chicago earlier this season. I think both of them are stackable in this game.
I mean, 19 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on the season.
Yum.
It's really good.
It was 15-1 at one point. He threw two interceptions last week. We forgot.
He started the season slow. The whole team did, and once they played Chicago, everything turned around. So
Call me crazy, but I kind of like Jay Cutler in this one.
Oh, baby, really?
Bring out the cutlery.
Who do you like for wide receivers if you're liking Cutler? Obviously, you like Forte, because Forte is the man. He is killing it this season.
Well, in GPPs, I got to take my explosiveness, and I got to go with Alshon Jeffrey.
Ooh.
Got to do it.
And they're both around the same price. Him and Marshall around 11,000 right now.
Perfect.
Last game is Carolina-Philadelphia. Mark Sanchez, LaShawn McCoy, please play LaShawn McCoy.
Sproles. Carolina's one of the worst against running backs.
Yeah,
so I like
McCoy
both of those guys.
just got a little bit of a boost, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And one of the big-time wide receivers I like Macklin a lot in this game.
Wow, what a surprise. You're like one of the best guys in the last
But everybody keep an eye out for Sanchez.
Oh, stop that.
Okay, the return.
Right. You're keeping an eye on Sanchez. I'm keeping an eye on StarFantasy.com. Over 15,000 guaranteed prize pools this weekend, Week 10 of the NFL season. We're over halfway done. But we're not talking that. We're talking NBA basketball. If you don't think Sweet Lou Williams is one of the best players in the NBA, you're not Matthew Footer. Take it easy, guys.
Dumb.
That is very dumb. Take it easy, guys.
Sweet Lou.